They found a black line in the Earth. 4 continents: North America, Europe, the Middle East, Greenland. Inside it, nanodiamonds. Platinum at concentrations hundreds of times above normal. Microscopic glass spheres, trillions of them, identical to the material found at nuclear test sites. And charcoal, the ash of an entire continent that caught fire in a single moment. That black line is a crime scene. It marks the exact geological moment 12,800 years ago when the world ended. The Clovis people vanished. The Megafauna, mammoths, mastodons, saber-toothed cats, dropped dead by the millions. Global temperatures plunged 10 degrees Celsius within a decade. The Ice Age, which had been fading, came roaring back and lasted another 1,000 years. And for decades, mainstream science said nothing happened. No impact, no comet, no catastrophe. Just gradual climate change. Nothing to see here. Here is the brutal truth. They were wrong. And one man has spent his entire career proving it by reading the one thing that cannot lie: the ground beneath our feet. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the younger Dryas, the day a comet swarm burned 10% of the Earth, and the evidence has been hiding in plain sight for 12,800 years. Buckle up. Here is the thing you have to understand. The scientific establishment does not change its mind easily. It took 50 years for plate tectonics to be accepted. 50 years. Geologists being ridiculed for suggesting continents move. 50 years of evidence being ignored because it did not fit the paradigm. The younger Dryas impact hypothesis has been going through the same war, and Randall Carlson has been at the center of it from the beginning. He is a geologist, a man who studies rocks, sediment layers, the physical evidence written into the planet, and what he found in that black line, that thin, dark stripe that appears everywhere at exactly 12,800 years ago, changes the story of human history. Let me show you what is inside it. Item 1. Nanodiamonds, microscopic diamonds, hexagonal diamonds that can only form under pressures and temperatures that do not exist at Earth's surface. Hundreds of thousands of atmospheres, temperatures in the thousands of degrees. The kind of conditions you get from a cosmic impact. Not a volcano, not a forest fire, an impact. These nanodiamonds have been found at more than 50 sites across 4 continents, always in the same layer, always at the same moment, 12,800 years ago. Item 2. Microscopic glass spheres, microspherules, tiny droplets of melted rock blasted into the atmosphere by an unimaginable explosion, cooled in flight, rained down across the planet. The same material found at Hiroshima, at Nagasaki, at nuclear test sites in the Nevada desert, but spread across an entire hemisphere. Item 3. Platinum, iridium, nickel, rare on Earth, common in asteroids. When the dinosaur-killing asteroid struck 66 million years ago, it left a global layer of iridium. The black matte layer contains the same signature. Platinum at concentrations up to 300 times higher than the background level. Let that sink in for a moment. The same metals that mark the death of the dinosaurs are sitting in a thin, dark line that marks the death of the Clovis people. Item 4. Charcoal. Massive quantities of it. The black matte itself, the dark color, is burned biomass. Entire forests, entire grasslands, an entire continent reduced to ash in a single moment. Here is what most people do not know. Scientists have estimated that approximately 10% of Earth's total biomass burned during this event. 10%. Not 10% of one continent, 10% of everything. Every forest, every grassland, every living thing that could burn. And underneath all of that ash and nanodiamonds and platinum, the Clovis people simply stop existing. Their tools disappear. Their campsites disappear. Their culture, which had thrived for over 1,000 years, vanishes from the archaeological record at exactly this moment. Not gradually, immediately. You do not need to be a geologist to understand what that means. The Clovis people, North America, 13,000 years ago. These were not cavemen. Let us get that out of the way immediately. The Clovis were sophisticated hunters and toolmakers. Their distinctive fluted spear points, the Clovis point, required skill, precision, and generational knowledge to produce. Made from exotic stone materials traded across hundreds of miles. This was not a people barely surviving. This was a culture, a civilization in its own terms. Mobile, yes, but organized, skilled, widespread. Clovis points have been found from Alaska to Florida, Pacific Northwest to the Atlantic coast. They were everywhere. The first confirmed human inhabitants of the continent, the pioneers of the New World. And then, they were gone. For decades, the standard explanation was that they were absorbed into later populations. The Folsom culture, the Plano culture. The Clovis did not go extinct, the textbook said. They simply changed. Gradual transformation over centuries. Nothing to see here. No catastrophe required. Here is the brutal truth. That explanation does not survive contact with the black mat. Below the black mat layer, Clovis points. Above the black mat layer, nothing that resembles them. Not in style, not in material, not in quality. The technology does not evolve. It disappears. The people do not transition. They vanish. And it is not just the Clovis. The megafauna vanish with them. The woolly mammoth, the mastodon, the saber-toothed cat, the giant ground sloth, the American camel, the short-faced bear, dozens of species, some weighing several tons, some that had survived multiple previous ice ages, gone in the same geological instant. Below the black mat, abundant. Above the black mat, extinct. You cannot explain that with gradual change. You cannot explain that with overhunting, the textbook alternative. A few thousand humans with stone-tipped spears did not hunt every mammoth on an entire continent to extinction. That is not how ecology works. That is not how extinction works. What does work? What fits every piece of evidence? A comet swarm that burned the continent and then froze it. Here is how it happened. According to Randall Carlson, according to the evidence, 12,800 years ago, a giant comet entered the inner solar system. Not a single object, a swarm. Dozens of fragments, some of them several kilometers wide, still loosely bound together by gravity. The same kind of object that Shoemaker-Levy 9 was when it slammed into Jupiter in 1994. A string of destruction stretched across millions of miles of space. The swarm crossed Earth's orbit, and this time, Earth was in the way. The fragments entered the atmosphere over North America at an angle, traveling south to north. They did not all hit the ground. Most of them did not need to. They exploded in the atmosphere. Air bursts, each one releasing energy equivalent to thousands of hydrogen bombs. The North American ice sheet at that time was still massive, 2 miles thick in places. covering most of Canada and the northern United States. The impact struck the ice sheet directly. The ice did not melt. It vaporized. Billions of tons of ice converted instantly to steam. The meltwater, cold, fresh, catastrophic, flooded into the North Atlantic Ocean in a pulse so massive that it shut down the ocean currents that distribute heat around the planet. The Gulf Stream stopped. The Atlantic circulation collapsed. The Northern Hemisphere, already cooling, plunged into a deep freeze that lasted 1,200 years. Global temperatures dropped 10 degrees Celsius within a single decade. The Ice Age, which had been ending, returned. But before the freeze, there was fire. The airbursts did not just melt ice. They ignited continent-scale wildfires. The blast waves flattened forests for hundreds of miles in every direction. The thermal radiation, thousands of degrees at the center, ignited everything that could burn. The fires fed on themselves, consuming grasslands, forests, entire ecosystems. The smoke and ash rose into the stratosphere and blocked the sun for years. The animals died in two waves. First, the blast and the fire. Everything in the impact zones. Mammoths caught directly in the path of the airbursts, incinerated where they stood. Then, the survivors, the ones who escaped the initial catastrophe. They starved in the darkness that followed. The plants died, the herbivores died, the carnivores died. The entire food web of Ice Age North America collapsed in less than a human lifetime. The evidence for this is not theoretical. Frozen mammoths have been found in Siberia and Alaska with undigested food still in their stomachs and mouths. Buttercups, grasses, plants that grow in temperate conditions. The animals were eating when they died, flash frozen so quickly that stomach acid did not have time to digest their last meal. Something killed them instantly. Something cold. Something catastrophic. Randall Carlson has pointed to these mammoths for decades as evidence that the younger Dryas onset was not gradual. It was instantaneous. Geologically instantaneous. The kind of instantaneous that only a cosmic impact can produce. And the humans? The Clovis? The people who had spread across the entire continent. Below the black mat, they exist. Above the black mat, they do not. You cannot be more clear than that. Now, let us talk about what this means for the story of civilization. Because this is where Randall Carlson and Graham Hancock collide. And this is where the controversy becomes explosive. The standard story goes like this. Hunter-gatherers for hundreds of thousands of years, then agriculture, then villages, then cities, then writing, then empires. A straight, gradual upward line from primitive to modern. The Clovis fit into this story as early hunter-gatherers. Skilled, yes, but primitive. No agriculture, no cities, no writing. Just mobile bands following the megafauna. But what if that story is wrong? Hancock and Carlson have proposed something far more radical. They argue that the Clovis were not the only humans living before the black mat. They argue that an advanced seafaring civilization, an Ice Age Atlantis, existed before the Cataclysm. Not aliens, not magic, just humans. Humans who figured out astronomy, mathematics, architecture, and navigation thousands of years before the Sumerians. A global culture that mapped the stars, that understood the precession of the equinoxes, that built monuments aligned to celestial events. The younger Dryas comet destroyed them. The survivors, scattered, traumatized, reduced to survival mode, washed up on the shores of hunter-gatherer tribes. They brought what knowledge they could carry: fragments of astronomy, fragments of mathematics, fragments of building technology. And those fragments, those seeds of a destroyed civilization, are what sprouted into Göbekli Tepe, ancient Egypt, Sumer, and the Indus Valley. The sudden explosion of civilization around 6,000 years ago was not an explosion at all. It was a recovery, a rebuilding, a civilization rising from the ashes of the one that came before. Here is what most people do not know. This theory is not pulled from thin air. There are dozens of ancient accounts from cultures all over the world that describe a great flood, or a great fire, or a great darkness before the present age. The Greeks had Phaethon, who lost control of the sun chariot and scorched the earth. The Hindus had the Yugas, cycles of creation and destruction. The Hebrews had Noah. The Mesopotamians had Utnapishtim. The Maya had their World Age mythology. Every ancient culture on Earth remembers a catastrophe. Hancock's argument is simple. These are not metaphors. These are not archetypes of the collective unconscious. These are garbled historical accounts of a real event. The Younger Dryas Cataclysm, passed down through oral tradition for 12,000 years until they were finally written down. And you know very damn well what that means. This is when the story shifts from the past to the present. And this is when it gets uncomfortable. The comet swarm that caused the Younger Dryas is still out there. It is called the Taurid meteor stream, a vast debris field, the remains of a giant comet that disintegrated thousands of years ago, crossing Earth's orbit twice every year. In June, during the daytime, we do not see it. In November, when we pass through the outer edge of the stream and call it the Taurid meteor shower. Shooting stars, beautiful, harmless. But embedded within that stream are objects that are not harmless. Dense clusters, kilometer-wide fragments, the debris of the original comet that broke apart, the same comet that caused the Younger Dryas. Astronomers have identified at least 19 large objects within the Taurid complex. Some of them are over a kilometer in diameter. Any one of them, just one, hitting Earth would be a civilization-ending event. And here is the brutal truth. The same orbital dynamics that caused the Younger Dryas impacts will inevitably bring Earth back into the densest part of the stream. We do not know when. 1,000 years. 100. Next November. The Taurid complex is a shooting gallery, and Earth passes through it every single year. Randall Carlson once said something that has never left me. The universe is not a safe place. It is filled with rocks moving at 30,000 miles per hour. And the evidence written into our planet, the black mat, the nanodiamonds, the shocked quartz, the frozen mammoths, tells us that Earth takes a major hit every few thousand years. We are living in the calm between storms, and we are overdue. Let that sink in for a moment. Everything you have been taught about the past being slow and gradual and safe is wrong. The past was violent, punctuated by catastrophes that reset the planet. The Clovis people woke up one morning 13,000 years ago and had no idea that the sky was about to fall on them. Neither will we. So here is where we stand. The evidence is in the ground. The nanodiamonds are a fact. The platinum spike is a fact. The glass spherules are a fact. The black mat is a fact. The megafauna extinction is a fact. The disappearance of the Clovis culture is a fact. The only question, the one that mainstream science is still fighting, is what it all means. Did the Younger Dryas comet simply destroy a continent of hunter-gatherers? Or did it destroy a civilization? Was there an advanced Ice Age culture, a real Atlantis, that the comet erased so completely that all we have left are myths and a thin black line in the earth? Randall Carlson and Graham Hancock have been asking that question for over 30 years. Ridiculed, dismissed, excluded. The archaeological establishment has treated them the way the church treated Galileo. Do not look at the evidence. Do not engage. Do not admit the paradigm might be wrong. But the paradigm is shifting. The Tal el-Hammam paper, 21 scientists, Nature Scientific Reports, 2021, proved that a cosmic airburst destroyed a Bronze Age city. If a Bronze Age city can be vaporized from the sky in a single second, what could a comet swarm do to an Ice Age civilization spread across vulnerable coastlines? The answer is written in the black mat layer. Burned biomass, nanodiamonds, platinum. A silent scream preserved in sediment across 4 continents. The Earth has a memory, and it is telling us a story that most people are not ready to hear. We are not the first. The people who came before us were not primitive. They were not stupid. They were simply unlucky. And if we do not pay attention to what destroyed them, we may be just as unlucky. Because the comet that did it is still up there, crossing our orbit, waiting. If you want more stories about the civilization's history buried, the evidence that challenges everything you were taught, subscribe now, ring the bell. There is so much more under that black mat than most people will ever know. And their stories were written down, preserved, and told again and again through the centuries. Stories that will never fade, as long as someone remembers to tell them. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next Historical Facts channel video. Was there an advanced Ice Age culture, a real Atlantis, that the comet erased so completely that all we have left are myths and a thin black line in the earth? Randall Carlson and Graham Hancock have been asking that question for over 30 years. Ridiculed, dismissed, excluded. The archaeological establishment has treated them the way the church treated Galileo. Do not look at the evidence. Do not engage. Do not admit the paradigm might be wrong. But the paradigm is shifting. The Tal el-Hammam paper, 21 scientists, Nature Scientific Reports, 2021, proved that a cosmic airburst destroyed a Bronze Age city. If a Bronze Age city can be vaporized from the sky in a single second, what could a comet swarm do to an Ice Age civilization spread across vulnerable coastlines? The answer is written in the black mat layer. Burned biomass, nanodiamonds, platinum. A silent scream preserved in sediment across 4 continents. The Earth has a memory, and it is telling us a story that most people are not ready to hear. We are not the first. The people who came before us were not primitive. They were not stupid. They were simply unlucky. And if we do not pay attention to what destroyed them, we may be just as unlucky. Because the comet that did it is still up there, crossing our orbit, waiting. If you want more stories about the civilization's history buried, the evidence that challenges everything you were taught, subscribe now, ring the bell. There is so much more under that black mat than most people will ever know. And their stories were written down, preserved, and told again and again through the centuries. Stories that will never fade, as long as someone remembers to tell them. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next Historical Facts channel video.